Hello and welcome to Sad Boy Reviews Gielinor Games episode 9. If you haven't seen this episode, I would heavily recommend going and checking out Soup on YouTube, Gielinor Games. It is amazing. It is worth saying that I'm doing this in advance because I don't think I'm going to be at home for a few days. And I've got a little private viewing here, so I'm not going to be able to respond to any comments or any usual concerns because nobody has seen the episode yet, apart from Soup and a few others. I just wanted to shout this out as well. Soup has released a Patreon for behind the scenes. If you're watching this video, I know you like behind the scenes. So this is right up your street. If you would like to support Soup financially, go for the Patreon. I'm going to be doing it like pretty much 99% sure. Wait, I've just seen that he's called this The Best Day on RuneScape. There's no way that's the actual title. What a fucking rat, bro. I've watched this entire thing. I haven't even seen that the whole time. As ever with these Gielinor Games reviews, I'm going to jump straight into talking about the alliances. We all know what happens, but it's best to talk as if I'm right there in the moment because it explains everything, and that's what I've been doing so far. So we've got to carry on with tradition. Not too much hindsight creeping in. So we've got the inner circle of myself, Will, Evescape, and Zoe that I formed a couple of weeks ago with Evie. And we're flying high. We've got 4 out of 10 people left, which is a great spot. Coming into this episode feeling very good, actually. Got North American Alliance with all these guys. Maybe these two are a bit more questionable. Boaty's on his own. And Foe still thinks he's connected to Evescape and Zoe. It's not obvious to anyone else, apart from the people who are in the inner circle, what is going on here. I just want to stress that. So, yeah, we're in a great spot, sort of going undercover and playing the game. I think I definitely pissed off Victim last week because I put him in the banning, and from his association with Framed and Settled, potentially pissed off these two as well. But I don't have confirmation of that. It didn't seem too bad, but at the same time, I'm thinking that they're not born yesterday. They're gonna think that I did a bad thing by putting Victim in last week. It's also important to note that it's a bit of a house built on sand. Do you know what I mean? The further you go into Gielinor Games, the less alliances matter. Because say if you know you're in the semi-final, there's no point having allies because next week you won't need them because you'll be in the final. So the further you go in, the more like that it gets. So can't 100% trust anybody, but it's worth trying still with relationships. Now, onto this specific episode, we're sorted into teams of 2, and I get put with Evescape, which actually, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh no. It's bad being with Evescape. Not because he's bad at the game, not because I don't like him. I probably get on with him better than pretty much anyone else in the competition, and he's one of the top performers. It's just, if I'm in the same team with him, he's very easy to vote for. He's been aggressive the whole time in calls and all this sort of stuff. So I initially was just like, before the challenge got announced, I was like, Evie, I love him, but it's probably not the greatest person I could have been put with her. Speaking of the teams, we have a very nice board here displaying them all. We have Framed and Settled, Boaty and Foe, Will and Victim, SoloMission and Evescape, and Tasty and Zoe. Now, I'm just going to run through a few hypotheticals because it really helps break down what I was thinking at the time. In the games, as soon as these teams got announced, I was doing it in my head, the scenarios of who wins and what does that mean and all this sort of stuff. So remember, I'm not naive enough to think that just because I thought things would happen, that they would happen, right? We've got all the double votes, we've got last place votes, etc. But generally, you can kind of get a gist of what would happen if each team won. So if Framed and Settled won, I would expect that Boaty and Foe would be in to the public vote. From the public vote, we've got me, Evescape, we've got Zoe here, we've got Will, all in a circle, all can vote the same way. So yeah, they'd go in. This didn't actually happen because it was a complete car crash and we had 2 of us coming in the bottom, which wasn't great. But say this is the hypothetical I was expecting. It is between myself and Evie and Zoe and Tasty for Framed and Settled to decide. They're going to put us in. Surely they do, right? You'd expect it. I mean, I'm completely cut off with Framed and Settled and said, we're not on the same team anymore. We're not working together anymore. But yeah, when I'm with the Evescape, I don't really stand a chance here, especially because Tasty is voting with these guys. If this was just a completely random person, maybe they'd put them in. But even so, it's that thing again, getting towards the end of the game, you don't have any fucking allies, you just vote the good people in. So I think we'd be toast there. Framed and Settled winning is very bad for that exact reason. So didn't want them to win at all. Let's say Boaty and Foe win. What happens now? Well, still got all this inner circle influence, etc. These two are definitely going in from the public vote. And then these two have to decide if I go in with Evie or Tasty and Zoe once again, because fucking these two can't be put in, which is annoying. Can't lie, I'm a little bit salty that Will just gets a free round for basically no reason. Not necessarily a fan of that one. It was the same when fucking Boaty picked Foe, but at least Boaty did pick Foe on that week. So yeah. Anyway, it's just how it goes, isn't it? They would probably be choosing myself and Evie once again, because Foe is kind of linked to Evie and Zoe from this side of the alliance, but that doesn't split the teams, and then they're just going to go off who's the best. But Boaty's been chatting all this about he wants to put the bad people in the banning, so maybe they would have put those in, but I really don't think they would. It's a great chance to put us in here. So if Boaty and Foe win, not great, because we'd probably be going in, but we'd be going in to get Settled and Framed rather than Boaty and Foe. And if you don't have any idea what the banning is going to be, I would prefer this situation. So Boaty and Foe winning is preferable to Settled and Framed winning. If Will and Victim win, I think it's obvious that Framed and Settled go in from the public vote, because Foe, Evie, Zoe are on the same alliance in quotation marks. We've got 3 inner circle people to all vote for them as well. It'll be quite easy to get them in. Who are these two going to choose? Well, Will is part of the inner circle, so he should be defending me, Evie, and Zoe here, leaving this team. However, Victim would really want myself and Evie in there. So just have to get Will to really fight for us, and they should be able to decide on this. There's no obvious allies in here of Boaty and Foe. They're also good players. If Will couldn't convince Victim to get these two in, then he would have, I don't know, like, I would have considered that a backstab if anyone other than this team went in to this banning. Yeah, it's a tough one. But I can't see us going in there, because it's me and Evie. We're both in the inner circle. I'd get the blackmail out and be like, well, you're going in guaranteed next week, no matter what happens if you send us in. So yeah, I think it would end up being this. If we win, well, obviously I don't care what happens, because we survive another week guaranteed. But I think what would happen here? I think you'd have Boaty and Foe put in, and then we'd have to choose these two, because inner circle goes above everything else, and this would be a great banning, getting rid of 2 people that are very strong no matter what happens. In fact, if these go in, we're putting these in. So I think it's going to be these two. Unless for some reason these two get put in, then we're probably going for... I'd let Zoe choose who she wanted out of Boaty and Foe or Settled and Thing, because she's in the inner circle, and either of these teams going would be pretty good. Now, if Tasty and Zoe win, it wouldn't be that difficult to get these two into the banning here, or these two from the public vote. So yeah, one or the other out of those 2 teams, let's say it's Framed, Settled, then they could just put in that from the banning vote. Zoe would have the inner circle backs, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that would be how it goes, which... For a lot of those outcomes, we're not in the bottom 2. That's the worst case scenario, is Framed and Settled winning. Then it's not great if Boaty and Foe win. And for the rest of the other 3 teams, I think we'd be safe, honestly. So I was feeling really confident going into this week, I can't lie. Moving on to the challenge. Now, when it got announced, I was happy, because I was like, yes, this is my favourite episode from Season 2. Happy to see it back. Really fun to do. But at the same time, it's not too great for me. Not because I'm bad at this. I don't think I'm bad. I mean, in Season 2, I did pretty decently. But it's more that everybody can do well in this one. It just depends on the locations. Whereas when it's something strategy-based or mechanically based, I do a lot better in those. So as a challenge, it's not great news for me, but it's not terrible news for me at the same time. Honestly, it's a reasonable start as well. The first one was Ernest the Chicken. Will and Victim get the 1-2, which is massive. But we're in second on 13 points, joint with Framed and Settled, so pretty happy with that as a round. Round 2 is the one in the Watchtower place. I get the win. Unfortunately, Evie was slightly behind me. That could have been a great opportunity, but it's one of those ones where a lot of people instantly knew it. So this round was still pretty decent, because Evie comes in before a lot of other people, and more importantly, Boaty and Foe get high placings, whereas they just got a really terrible placing. They literally just came dead last. And then Will and Victim weren't there for ages, which was perfect. So we're actually winning by 1 point after round 2, which is really nice. And yeah, we were feeling very good, not gonna lie. And then round 3 is a weird one because there's a deleted round. Dun, dun, dun. Well, what happened was me and Evie pretty much instantly go and check all the rat pits, but Soup wasn't logged into the right world. So Evie goes down in the RD rat pits where Soup was. And then he teleports away because Soup wasn't logged in the right world. And then other people start finding it. And then we're still looking for ages and ages. And I'm like, are you sure you checked the rat pits? And he goes back to the same spot and then everyone's there. And it's like, well, what the fuck? That's like fucked. We can't have this as a round. And the reason I'm saying this is because this actually happened in the final as well. It's part of the reason... Yeah, I'll explain once I get to the point where this becomes a thing. But it was a little bit annoying. It's like, oh, we would have done well again, but we just didn't get this round. I don't think it mattered too much overall. Round 3 was massive for the overall standings because me and Evie didn't instantly get the Dragon Slayer place. Crandor and Framed and Settled got it straight away, which meant they got 1-2, and they pulled ahead a load. So they've got 11 over us now. And I think Boaty and Foe would be close to second. I'm not sure who's actually in second here. The rest are probably equal, but Framed held out with that 11-point lead at this point. Round 4 was another car crash for us. When you have a bad round, you have a really bad round in this. Like, it's okay if one person instantly gets it and the other person can be told when to go, but that didn't really happen for us at all. We either both got it, or we both didn't get it, which is like the worst combination. Probably because we do 2 similar things in this stupid game. So yeah, I think overall we snapped off instantly lots of the locations, but just at the same time, which is ineffective. So by round 5, we know we're not going to win. So that's when we have to start considering what happens if each different team wins. And if Settled and Framed win, absolute worst case scenario for us. So... even if Settled and Frame win, no matter where we come in the standings, we're going into the banning. So we may as well try our best to stop them from winning. And you've got to remember that we don't know what the standings are between challenges. We don't know where people came. We just turn up and there's a bunch of players there. So we can't add anything up or that sort of thing. So it's definitely the right decision to go for this here. No doubt in my mind. With all the info available, this is what I'd do. And I'd do it again. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off this time because they were that far ahead of everybody else. But yeah. In another universe, you never know. We definitely wouldn't have come last overall, by the way, if we didn't do this. We probably would have come like 3rd or something and got votes and things. But like I said, it wouldn't have mattered. So that's why we threw everything away to do this. So the worst case scenario occurs. Framed and Settled win. But guess what? It's not the worst case scenario. It's the worst than the worst case scenario. That Boaty and Foe, Will and Victim come in second. They all get votes. And then we get no votes down here. And 1 place automatically. It's literally the worst. It's worse than the worst case scenario. Fuck me. It's like, couldn't have gone any worse than this. It's bad. So only 4 people can vote. Now, Victim will always vote for us here. There's no way he's voting for these guys. I've literally just sent him in last week. We're a strong team. Evie's been trying to manipulate him the whole time. Like, there's no chance. And because Victim is voting for this team, it means that there's not even any point in Will voting for this team because we have an extra vote and they're not going to vote. This team isn't going to vote for themselves. So it's impossible for them to go into the banning from the public vote. And that means that the only teams that can go in from the public vote are Solo and Evie and Tasty and Zoe. Now, we already have 3 votes. They have 1 with 3 people left to vote. So it's not looking good, is it? Like, surely Boaty and Foe are going to be voting for Solo, Evie, and it's a wrap. It's done. And that just leaves Will with some spare votes. I anticipate that people are going to look at the episode and just be like, Will betrayed the inner circle because Will votes for Solo and Evie here. But we told him to. We told him to vote for us because there's no point in him blowing his cover. It literally doesn't matter. We're going into the banning anyway. So he votes for us because we say it's fine that he can vote for us. Like, that means that he is being under the radar more, which is what the inner circle is all about, being under the radar. What is very interesting from the episode is that Boaty actually votes for Tasty Pancakes, which means, yeah, we have no idea and no clue that he's going to do that, right? But say if we did have that knowledge, we'd have Victim voting for us, Boaty voting for Tasty Pancakes. So it essentially comes down to what these two do, Foe and Will. And is there a universe where we could have put some pressure on and tried to get them to vote for Tasty and Zoe here? Because let's say even one of them does that and one of them votes for us, then we're drawn for votes. Would we both go into the banning here? Because this would be preferable to us going in against Fo and Boaty. I'd rather go against Tasty and Zoe here in this spot. And then there's a possibility that both of them vote for these two, and then they're in the banning. Framed and Settled have to decide somebody. If I had to bet, I think they'd pick these two. I honestly do. I think they'd pick Boaty and Fo, because I'm not convinced that my bridge is 100% burned of Settled and Framed at this point. Even though, like, in the confessional, he's like, yeah, we've been waiting all this time to get rid of SoloMission. I think that was a bit for the cameras, to be honest. I don't think that... I mean, maybe I'm being super naive here, but, why would he randomly make an enemy out of me when he could just send in these two, which are equally as strong as this team? There's never a point where I just become enemies with Framed for some reason. In fact, from his perspective, I've been quite useful, and there's no reason to get rid of that. There's 8 people left after this week, which is the reason why I don't go for any of these antics. I think I remember Soup saying to me when I was doing my confessional after this episode, because I was just resigned, right? I didn't think about any of this. I mean, I ran through the scenarios in my head, but I was like, there's no way it's worth it. I'm just resigned to just going into the banning here with 7 votes. And Soup said, oh, do you not think you could have pulled some strings? And maybe, but you're going to pull those strings, and in pulling those strings, we're burning all the bridges down of the inner circle, and all the influence I have, I'm getting rid of it, just to try for the chance that we'd be against Tasty and Zoe, probably, rather than Fo and Bowie. I didn't think that was worth it. It's worth having those relationships when there's 8 people left. So, yeah, didn't go for it in the end. Not a snake, actually. Not a snake. Fucking hell. We went out. It's not the play. So we're in the banning. Tasty, Zoe, Boaty, Fo up for joining us. These two are safe, of course. Now, obviously, out of these two teams, much love to Tasty and Zoe, but I swear they started playing again in 2018 or something, whereas these two have been full-time playing this game a million hours since 20 flickering whatever, 2005. I don't know. They've put so much time into the game. And I think I said to Evie at the start of the banning, I was like, Boaty and Fo are the worst people we could have gone against because they've just played so much. They've been full-time for ages. And it's sometimes Boaty can overthink himself out of the situation. You don't have to think in this stuff. You just go straight to the location. So, yeah, there's no mechanical stuff that we could get Fo on or anything like that. I don't know. It was a bad banning to be in against them. So my hands aren't entirely clean. When Framed and Settled were discussing who to send into the banning out of these two, I did message Framed and I said I would rather it was Tasty and Zoe. Because even through everything, I have had Frame's best interests, they've aligned with my best interests, and I've had his back in quite a few situations this season. So I thought, maybe there's a chance that he will give us Tasty and Zoe instead of Fo and Bowie, because I would rather them. And I did message him. I said, I want Tasty and Zoe. And then Settled was heart set on them. And I'm like, fair enough. You've got this, King. And I was like, R.I.P. And this is after we've won. After we lost, sorry. I was like, fuck you, lost. I was like, yeah. Peace, bro. We're out. So yeah, I don't know how much he wanted me to stay in or not. Who knows? So on to the banning, and I've really not been looking forward to talking about this. Honestly, ever since I started making these videos, I was like, shit, I'm gonna talk about this banning at some point, and I just feel like I'm gonna come across badly. But yeah, let's try and put this in the nicest way possible. Preface this with, I love Soup, I love everyone in the Gielinor games, I love EVscape, but this season was free agents, right? Everyone's competing as an individual, and I can't lie, when I got off the computer, the first thing I was annoyed about was that I've just gone out in a team banning where I feel like I performed quite well, actually. Oh, that sounds so bad. Not saying that, I don't necessarily blame EVscape, but I just feel like we should all be competing as individuals in a banning rather than in teams just randomly for some reason. I know Sinfino and Hanani did it as well. And around the time, a lot of the comments were like, that shouldn't be a thing. And you know what? I think I agree. Like, I don't think it's me just being with hindsight here because we lost. I just think, yeah. Yeah, this doesn't sound too great, but I don't know. This is my honest opinion. But negativity aside for now, that being said, if I could have chosen somebody to go down with, it would have been EVscape. We've been thick as thieves. He's been my boy throughout this Gielinor games. And yeah, I wouldn't have had it any other way if it had to be a team banning. I just would rather it was a solo thing. But it's just a minor thing, right? It's not a big deal. All right, let's have a look at what goes on this day of worst and worst case scenarios. Now, we actually click opposite doors here. I call it. We go through at the same time. You'd get door jammed if you both tried to go through the same door there, so that was a good one. Evie goes slightly west, which means that he doesn't have gap anymore, and he gets caught by a bind. We were so home and dry. It's fine though. It's like a tiny mistake. At this point, it's still not over, but Evie splashes a key freeze on Foe, which is also annoying because like it's just RNG, right? And then Foe gets through. They have the upper hand, and I'm like, yay, I've won, but I haven't won because even though I'm first, I'm actually fucking last because it's a team thing. And I don't know if I played this wrong. Maybe there's something better I could have done here. But I just go back and I'm like, well, Boaty hasn't secured the trade yet. And I'm going to go and get Foe here. The scenery is fucking terrible here. That would have caught if not for the scenery. I splashed that one, so we got some extra squares. Evie's running. Oh, first time freeze again. The scenery means I can't get Boaty here, which is irritating. And then I take up a decent position here, ready to get Foe. Ready to get Foe. We've got to wait for the freeze immunity. I wait. Go. He's under me. Go. The scenery, go, and he's fucking gone. What is that? So after snatching defeat from the clutches of victory here, we get going on the Tarn's Lair one, which we got instantly, and they didn't get, which, I don't know, that made me feel annoyed as well, because it was like, well, we got 3 of them instantly, and we still lost even though they got 2 instantly. I'm like, Tarn's Lair, this way, Evie, it's this way. And here we go, into Tarn's Lair to see Soup. First again. So I've come first twice. I'm like, what is going on? I got banned. Avoided the spikes and we are good. Oh, and I felt so bad at this point because I was like, fuck, we should have won. We should be safe by now. We should have immunity next week. Oh my god, I would have been feeling so happy. Round 3, shout out to the deleted scenes once again. Me and Boaty were ahead of Foe and EV. We get here and Soup wasn't logged in again. Which is unfortunate. Like, it was decided that it just couldn't end like this. It would have been terrible for the video, and it's a what if situation. Like, what if Boaty went back and froze me? What if I froze Foe, or Evie was on Foe still, or there were splashes or whatever? It wasn't clear-cut ending, so I think it was for the best that this wasn't used. But I mean, Foe and Boaty could have pushed for this to be like the actual result, and they didn't. So I think that was really good of them to not do that. I mean, that's why I mentioned before, right, that there was a round that got deleted in the actual games. It didn't go in. If that round was included, we might not even be here. It could be completely different. So I think it was good to be consistent. But they definitely, it's good that they ended up winning overall because they would have felt bitter about this. I'm like pretty confident because they had an advantage coming into this bit where Soup was, because I think Foe was just ahead of EVscape or something. But it was like, if there were no splashes, if, you know what I mean. And then the final one, not much to say really. We both are like, yep, the Polar Hunter area, EV said. And I'm like, yeah, DKS, it's the Mountain Daughter. And we go straight there, and we just take a different fairy ring, and then we're out. I don't think it's an incredibly obvious thing which one's better to take, because the path is in between the 2 rings, and it's just, how do you know how long that cliff is? The good guys versus bad guys banning. The good guys always win. If you've never watched any series before. So, there we go. Am I over it? No. No, not really. I just know myself, and I just know that I wouldn't be satisfied with anything else than winning the entire thing. I can't lie. It's just one of those things. I feel like I'm happy with all of my decisions. I'll say that. I came in on week 1 with massive target on my back. It's that clip of I'm there like, I'm not the best at anything, and I was like, yeah, you're the best at everything. Like, what is going on? And then from the snaking in season 2. I had to overcome that as well. So I went from the first banning in the first week, and this is my second banning in 9 weeks. Like, what is going on? Surprised I managed to get so far, really. But I mean, I did do well. I did well in the RuneScape, which helped keep me in for a long time. Did well on the politics. I did well on everything, but you can do well on everything and you can still lose. That is a lesson in life, unfortunately. So just to sum up this season, I was 2nd out of 20, 1st out of 5, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 9, 2 out of 15, 2 out of 14, 2 out of 13, 1 out of 3. I mean, a bunch of these are team challenges, so they don't really count, but like, you're still there on the team, right? Like, having an impact. And then hide and seek. One bad day to ruin it all. And that's what makes the Gielinor games interesting. If it was just about RuneScape, it would be boring. Like, say if it was a league format, like, I would be at the top of the league and probably just win the entire thing. If it was, you weren't allowed alliances, you would just vote for who you thought was the best person every week, and you'd vote the same person every week. So that would also be boring, which I think a lot of people don't really understand that reading the comments. But, I mean, it's fine to, like root against us, but at least understand it. I don't know, sometimes it's just, yeah. So SoloMission and EVscape have been eliminated, and what does that do to the state of the game? Well, it blows it wide open. I think all these people are just out on their own at the moment, really. Settled and Framed can count on each other, possibly like Will and Victim. Maybe you get some little partnerships going on and stuff like that. Maybe Tasty and Zoe group up again. But like I've been saying this whole time, the further you go, the less you need an alliance, because you can just like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to get me back next week in the final. It's just the final. So I don't know how many weeks are left. And that's the thing. I don't even know what happens now, right? I'm just like you. I'm a fan. So I left the Discord after we went out. The only thing I do know is I was helping Soup design next week's challenge. So I think I know what next week's challenge is. And that's about it. Other than that, I really don't know. As for who is going to win from here, I would imagine Boaty wins. Honestly, I've seen all the comments, right? Like, I want to preface this by saying I genuinely don't know who wins. But everyone was like, oh, Solo, you must be making these videos because you won or made it far or something. But I think that about Boaty. I'm like, this guy's won. He's got immunity now, right? So next week he's fine. So that gives him massive odds. It gives Foe pretty big odds as well, because being safe for a week is huge. And then, yeah, like, oh, I don't know. Like, if you ask me who I want to win, I don't really mind who wins. I kind of want Boaty to win because I think he's done the best in the RuneScape. Like, over the whole competition, I think he's had the biggest RuneScape impact. And that's why I always said he was like my number one opposition. And he said the same thing about me. Like, fuck me, everyone celebrates so hard when I go home. It's so annoying. Everyone's in such a good mood, I swear. If there is a season 4 of Gielinor Games, I will see you back here. Soup does ask for feedback. So at the end of the season 3, if you give him any ideas for challenges, what you liked, what you didn't like, he's always open to that. I think he puts a Google form out and it's like, what competitors did you like the most? Who was funny? Who are you rooting for in this scenario? And all this sort of stuff. Ideas for challenges. So if you do have ideas, give it to him in feedback. It's really good. I know he does go through them all and he takes it all very seriously. So that is definitely something to look out for. And as for this channel, you know, maybe I'll make some more talking content. I didn't expect so many people to watch these videos, to be honest. I thought there was going to be like 2K people maybe. Yeah, if you want more of me, you can also find me on my main channel at SoloMission. I'm sure people watching this don't watch my main channel stuff. So yeah, I'd say I make some pretty decent videos. Go check them out if you want to. Yeah, that's about it. I will see you later. Thanks for watching. I've got to go.